Hello everybody, Dr. Rose here. Welcome to Crime and Delinquency. Wanted to give you some basic information about this course and what to expect from it. Two basic questions that we're trying to answer in this course, as complex as it may seem to be, especially if you pick up that textbook, which we'll talk about in a minute. Why does crime happen, and what can be done to prevent it or mitigate it? That's really the nature of the core of the course. Why does it happen? What can we do about it? So, and here's a core principle in terms of the nature of the subject matter. We're all just guessing. Some of us are just better at it than others, and there's a reason why. We call that the scientific method. We'll talk about that. There's a more effective way of guessing, but we're still just guessing, even with the best scientific approach to things. So if you look at the textbook, there's all kinds of concepts floating all over the place, all kinds of theories. That's great. We'll talk more about the approach to the textbook. But bottom line, if you look at the foundations of what we're doing in the criminal justice field and in criminology, we're guessing. But again, there is a better way to do it, so we'll talk about that. Another core concept is the nature of humanity. What we assume about people will determine how much we see and how much we don't see. And the basic question, are people basically good or evil, good or bad? What's human nature? So we'll talk about in terms of we can really narrow our focus and narrow what we see and blind ourselves to potential approaches to crime and reasons for the crime and what we can do about it if we believe the wrong things, if we don't check our assumptions and make those assumptions explicit and challenge them. And the idea here is that we need to turn our conclusions into questions. Just make that a default mindset of yours to turn your conclusions into questions and then do research and see if they still stand. So we'll talk about that. We're going to go deep into the institutions that were designed to deal with human nature, humanity, what we need to be effective in life, what we need to be successful. And we'll talk about those basic institutions are family, church, school, and government. And then we'll talk about, well, what happens when those institutions fail or the people that are subject to those institutions don't cooperate, don't go along with the program. And that gives you a basic framework of what we're looking at in terms of what to expect from this course in this very simplistic terms. My job is to make a complex reality seem more simple and easy to understand to you. So my job is to set context and application, give you foundations and frameworks from which to work. Your job is to basically dig into the material to front load as much as you can from a variety of sources, including the textbook. And then I set application and context to that so that you can actually use it when you walk out of this class. Which brings me to what's my approach. So when I design a course, and in this case, redesign a course, I try to identify what are the key things that I need you to get out of this so you can actually take this information, apply it to your chosen profession, and do something with it. And unfortunately, the common experience, my experience, 11 years going to college, all the way from bachelor's, master's, and doctoral programs, a lot of it was the same approach. What professors tend to do is take a textbook, use the table of contents as a framework for that course, and then use the publisher's PowerPoints, use the publisher's quizzes, and then what you end up doing is, okay, I have to read the textbook, random. Wow, I hate textbooks. There's a few out there that are okay, but for the most part, textbooks suck. You should still read them, skim through them, find out what's interesting. I'll talk more about that. But to use a textbook as a framework for a course, you're starting off wrong. It's just bad. And then to have you memorize random material, to what end? So what am I testing? Your knowledge of the subject matter, which you're going to forget in a few days anyway after you take the test, or am I measuring your ability to memorize things short term? What's the goal? Again, provide you with usable information that you can take out into the real world and do something with. And so my approach is a little bit different in terms of, it could be a lot different. Find out what I really need you to know, and then develop assignments that naturally walk you towards that goal. And so the building blocks, the foundations, the steps, a logical, rational pathway to get there. And so here's a foundation here, if you understand this conceptual foundation, then this material starts to make more sense. And then it builds into the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And now, by the end of the course, wow, I have all these frameworks, and I have this information that I actually can do something with. So originally, this course was designed as, again, textbook, table of contents, framework, PowerPoints, which are still in there. Somebody else's, if you want to look at the PowerPoints, great. If you want to, read through them, that's fine. They're just there because that's what some people expect. I don't teach from PowerPoints. I don't quiz you on PowerPoints, and you'll notice that the quizzes in this class have been changed in terms of I'm not going to test you on random stuff in the textbook and use the publisher's quiz to test that, right? It's just, in my experience, dumb, and it doesn't really do anything for you. So you'll notice the quizzes are going to give you a prompt in terms of, hey, think about this, refer to the chapters that you're supposed to read this week, but apply that to something very specific that you can actually do something with. And so my approach to the textbook, in my academic career, I read the textbooks. And I found that sometimes, okay, that was interesting, that wasn't, that was useful, that wasn't, whatever. For you, look at the table of contents. The first thing you want to do is, okay, what's in here? And do it week by week, and typically each week has 2 chapters you got to read or you should read. And okay, what's interesting to me, what's foundational, what do I really need to know, relevant to my assignment and relevant to what I want to get out of this class. And then go to those chapters and then read those. But the nice thing about that approach is that you're not trying to memorize stuff and stress yourself out about, what do I have to memorize? It's so random. No, just what interests you, what applies to the assignment, and what applies to your chosen profession and what you might do with it in your career path. Takes all the stress out of it, but you still got to put the work in. Remember, your job is front loading. Do the work. If you follow the progression of how I designed the course, you're actually going to get something out of it. Understand that your default setting is probably rational according to what you've experienced in your academic career so far. Again, if you've experienced courses where you walk into it, it's all about textbook, then you're going to adjust to that. And the adjustment usually is, okay, forget the lectures, forget all this other nonsense. What's the assignment? What do I have to do? Can I turn this assignment and get away with just turning this in without actually doing any front loading? I can tell when that happens, don't do that. But again, I go through a painstaking process of making it relevant to you so that you can actually go, okay, you know what? I'm going to watch the lecture. I'm going to skim through the book, find out what's relevant, read that, and then apply it to my assignments. Then you're going to get something out of the course. With that, what I do each week when I post the lecture videos and such and the other relevant videos, before I grade any assignments, I'll go to the needs grading section, but before I do that, I run a query on who has watched the videos. And so if you haven't watched the video, what's going to happen is you're going to get a 0 as a placeholder for that assignment, along with a note saying, I don't review or grade assignments until the videos have been watched. Please watch the video and then resubmit the assignment. So if you see that temporary 0, presuming that you're going to actually do watch the lecture and then resubmit, then of course you'll get the review and the grade. Along with that, I have the philosophy that learning shouldn't hurt. So you get multiple attempts. I mean, really unlimited until the course ends. So let's say you turn in an assignment and I'm reviewing it and it's like, okay, you missed some things or you didn't go deep enough here. I'm going to give you feedback, send it back to you. You can resubmit it as many times as you need to without penalty. There's a caveat to that. If I see that you didn't really put any effort into it, I'm not really going to give you much feedback. I'm going to say try again because I'm not going to waste my time with that. But if I see that you've done your best, that you've actually put some work in and you're off, then you're going to get that interactive process, that feedback, and then you can try again. But again, caveat, please do your best. Please do your own front loading like you're supposed to do and put forth the best effort. And I'll also ask that just follow basic APA rules in terms of font, spacing, on your reference section, make sure you're removing the hyperlinks, that you right click on that, remove hyperlinks so it's not blue. Make sure you have hanging indentation, things like that. Just kind of follow those rules. And typically in the first assignments, if you get it wrong, I'm not going to deduct points for that initially. I'll just say, hey, on your future papers, make sure you're following APA protocol, which means you have to go study it if you don't know the APA protocol. But just do that and then turn in the assignments. When there's page length requirements, remember if you're going to use the first part of the first page as your name, course, and all that kind of stuff, that doesn't count to the page count. Title pages don't count, reference pages don't count, so just pay attention to that. The other thing too is, use me as a resource. I'm completely open to individual Zoom meetings, group Zoom meetings, whatever you need to make sure that you have what you need for clarity, for context, for help with the assignments, whatever you need, I'm here to help you get through that. And so make sure you take me up on that if you need that. Pretty flexible. Anything that I can do to help, I'm more than willing to do. I'll leave you with some final comments in terms of when you're going in to learn something, make sure you kind of think in terms of identifying your current assumptions. What do you currently believe and why do you believe that? Turn those conclusions into questions and then be open to new information. The danger that you have, and this generation has it so much harder than my generation had it in terms of learning. You are inundated and overwhelmed with information just coming at you from a variety of sources. I mean, social media, regular news media. My suggestion to you is get off that stuff as much as you can. Spend your time as much as you can developing yourself for your future success in your careers. But you are bombarded with lies, you are bombarded with deception, you are bombarded with opinions, and if you actually study these things politically, it's naturally designed to make people so completely defeated in terms of, I don't even care what the truth is anymore. And so the idea is that people want to make you subjects instead of free. They're going to make you ignorant. They're going to make you completely exhausted when it comes to even caring about truth, and then it's going to make sure that you're not even equipped to find truth. So best thing you can do is go, you know what, I'm going to delay what I think I know about this. I'm going to identify what my current beliefs are as standing assumptions, and I'm going to start questioning all that. Keep an open mind. Don't let anybody tell you what to believe or what to think, but become equipped on how to reason, how to use logic. And getting back to that scientific method, the better way of guessing, the two pillars of science, logic and observation. It has to make sense. And you have to actually be able to observe it in life. If you don't have those two pillars, you have nothing. It's not going to work. And so again, you're just guessing, but you're guessing probably with a higher degree of error than the people that are guessing with disciplined observation, disciplined reasoning, and then disciplined approach to studying things. And let me just check to see if there's anything else I need to, just do your best, watch the lectures. Make sure that you tap into me as a resource in terms of if you have any questions or need help with anything. I look forward to working with you and hope to make this a very interesting class for you. Thank you.